Hey, welcome to Speaker Talks Podcast. I'm Steve Sapato, your host, and at Speaker Talks Podcast, we talk about all things business, but primarily to do with the speaking business, being an author and growing your business and selling more books, being an entrepreneur, and of course, if you're in leadership and you want to grow your business, no matter what you're doing, a lot of times we have wonderful guests on who will help you grow and improve your business. Today, I have the absolute marvelous time to be able to introduce you to Chad Burmeister. He's the author of Sales Hack. He's the CEO of Scale XI and founder of the Sales Class AI. And his passion is to take sales to the next level of professionalism and performance. Let's see if he's waiting backstage. Are you there, Chad?
I am here. Glad to be here, Steve.
Hey, cool. Yeah, this is cool. And Chad and I talked a while back, and then we said, hey, I got to have you on as a podcast because he's got this wonderful, we met on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he said, hey, he's got a deal where he says, I can double your business. And I go, oh, I think I want you on my podcast because who here wouldn't want to double their income, double their business, make a lot more money? How's that? Does that work, Chad?
I mean, it's yeah, who doesn't want it? I mean, if you're looking for a 5 or a 10X, maybe you've came to the wrong place, but we could certainly help you with the 2.
Yeah. Well, and I love though, when we watch stuff happen on Facebook and LinkedIn, people say, I can 10 times your business. And you go, I don't think you can, right? Or you can make $100,000 a month. If you've only been making 10,000 a month, I can help you make 100,000. You're like, shut up, right?
Yeah,
unless you're
right.
here with me, really working at my elbow, working the programs and all the software and all the other things that go into the hacks that we need in order to make that happen. Nobody's software is going to change your life like that. So it takes somebody like you and I who say, you know what, you're missing just enough things in what you're doing that we can help you double what you're doing now. That's so cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about you. First of all, how did you get where you're at today? But where did you come from? What's your background? So a couple, 3 minutes on your background and then how you ended up helping people today.
Yeah, it's funny. I normally have a green screen that I use. And so today we're using the bookshelf background, which is awesome because we wouldn't have seen this car right here. And this is the car that I raced when I was in Cub Scouts in Colorado as a youngster and actually won the race, took first place.
They don't call that soapbox derby. What do they call that?
Yeah, Pinewood Derby.
Pinewood Derby.
Made out of pinewood, I guess. So, I won the contest, and then my son, when we moved to California, he also took first place in the contest, and there were some pretty heavy engineers over there in Silicon Valley. So,
man,
my superpower in life has been being a competitor, right? Whether it's the rope climb in elementary school or this thing in Cub Scouts or playing soccer, it's always trying to figure out how to improve upon how things are done and not staying in the same lane as everybody else, but doing something in a unique way because if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So,
that's just it. Most of us, isn't that true? Most of us get the same results as now. And who is it? Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, somebody who said, we are the people we hang around with. So if your income is mediocre, the 5 people you hang around with, their income's probably mediocre. Somebody just last night, we were watching those presidential debates, sat there and said something. Somebody said something about millionaires, and he said something about, yeah, that's because you're millionaires. And I went, well, you are the people you hang around with. And he went, then I should start hanging around with millionaires. I went, if you can figure out how to do that, within 5 years, you'll probably become a millionaire because that's how this works. And so, what's amazing to me, Chad, is that you won a Pinewood Derby and then your son did because my dad and I competed in it. And I mean, we thought it was just a matter of carving the wood, but then people put weight here and they put this there and they lube the wheel. And we're like, ours is like,
yeah, no, it's pretty, it's complex. I'm sure, these little wheels, we didn't sand them down back in the day. We just, my dad was a doctor. And so he was very good at analytical thinking. And so I think we were able, we didn't have YouTube videos to watch back then either.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah, I bet you there's a ton of those out there, aren't there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a ton. Absolutely. So, so I started competitively, and then I played lacrosse in high school and college, and have always been competitive.
Wait,
And then my
lacrosse.
first
Lacrosse, is that stick with the little net on the end?
stick with the net on the end, you bet.
Yeah. I mean, who even knows that exists? And you played it.
Yeah, I played it
Cool.
in college and in a club sports team for Colorado State. So
And I played try not to dodge the ball, and I won all the time.
that's right. Yeah. So, it was natural to get into sales until I took my first sales role and was let go from my first sales role in 6 months. And so that left a mark, right? It was like getting punched upside the head, and I got a bruise. And so it caused me for the last 25 years to really focus and figure out, you are who you hang out with, who's doing it the right way, and how do I synthesize those best practices. And so now I'm a combination of dozens of mentors I've had, hundreds of people that have worked for me and with me. And I've learned a thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so you're obviously an old dude now, but how old are you? You got one son or a couple kids?
I have two kids. One's my son just went to college, Colorado School of Mines. He's 18.
Wow.
And my daughter is 17 and actually beat him on the SAT score. So she came in with the 1310, and he was a 1290. And they were apparently that's very good these days. So,
well, and quite frankly, you don't look old enough to have. I guess if I look at their beard, you got gray in your beard. But I wouldn't have said you were in your. Well, let's see, how you have to be just in your 40s then.
I'm 47. So
yeah, see, you look great, my friend. You look great.
Yeah, life is good.
And so when we talk about, basically we're talking here to speakers, authors, entrepreneurs. A few leaders will be tuning in, I'm sure, because everybody wants to know how to improve their bottom line. When we talk about improving, what are some of the concepts? Like, how I've been doing, I'm Joe Entrepreneur, I'm Joe Speaker, and I want to improve my business. I think I've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, 14 years. Why is my business already great?
So Arjun Sen is the former CMO of Papa John's Pizza, and he was also Tiger Woods' PR person during Tiger Woods' pivotal moments in his life, if you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And now the world knows Tiger Woods is a great golfer, and Arjun did an amazing job with his personal brand. Arjun called me a few hours before this podcast and said, "Chad, I need to tell you something." I was like, "What?" He said, you changed my life. Okay. And I just played golf with him about 3 weeks ago. I said, "How did I change your life?" He goes, "You got me a meeting with exactly the perfect prospect that I would never have known about, and he would never have known about me. And through your automation technology, your technology discovered who this person was, connected me with him, and now we have a meeting and we're going to do business together." And it was so, I just loved that. And then he also said, and then I said, "Oh, wait till I tell you some of the new cool stuff we're working on." Said, no, Chad, I have one more thing to tell you. Okay, go ahead. And he goes, "Every single customer that I engage with has a need to be connected with their prospects, just like you connected me to a top prospect." He goes, "If it's okay with you, I'm going to bundle in the ScaleX technology into my customer deployments." Let
me think about that. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Twist that arm, right?
Those are the calls that you get when you realize that you've really uncovered something that's excellent and can be beneficial to a lot of people. And, I'm excited to share a couple of the concepts and ideas. So,
yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. So absolutely. So I guess before we jump into this, some of the things that most of us look for, I mean, we say, "Hey, I think I know how to run my own business." Everybody tries to tell me they've got the perfect answer or they've got the wonderful software. And I know I was just working with a young lady the other day, and she is now one of my clients. But when she first called me up, she was like, I don't know, Steve, I just dropped $10,000 into, and I always call it the guru programs. I just dropped $10,000 into a guru program. And quite frankly, it didn't change my life like I thought it was going to. And so we got into a nice heavy discussion. And when we were all done, she actually put out a testimonial for me that said in our 45-minute conversation, as she had already decided to work with me, things change. And that's exactly right, isn't it? We're always, what most of us want is the magic bullet. We want that magic thing that will change our lives. And what we found is it's usually the simpler things that change our lives. So that's what Chad has to offer. All right. That's what he does. And that's important that you start really tuning in. So if you've got, you can get a recording of this podcast, but over the next 20 minutes, you can record this if you want. I'll be glad to download it if you want. It'll be out on YouTube or wherever else, but start really paying attention. So Chad, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to drop off the screen here so they can just watch you. And
all right,
let's see what we can learn.
Here we go. Well, I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much, Steve. It's really a pleasure to be able to talk on podcasts like this. And I see my microphones here. You can see my green screen now. We were on split screen, so you can see the man behind the curtain. And that's me, Chad Burmeister. I live in Littleton, Colorado. And let's dig in. So the first thing is personal branding is more important than ever. So I've always looked at myself as a sales leader, and yet I've had to learn marketing over the years and partner with my marketing brothers and sisters that I've worked with at different companies. And so recently I started working with a gentleman named Nick Cavuto, Cavuto. And Nick helped me push and develop ChadBurmeister.com. It was amazing. We pushed, we put ChadBurmeister.com out. It's got a press sheet there. It talks about my passion. It's got everything that a podcaster might need to learn about me, and all of my links and Twitter and Facebook, all of that stuff, all built into a website. Well, then we do an interview I do an interview about once a month with a video person, and he asked me 10 to 20 questions. And in those 10 to 20 questions, there are things like, how can you grow your revenues by 2x? How can I do more sales activities? How do I automate voicemails? All these different questions, even some questions about life in general and competitive and everything else. And so we get into these conversations and dialogues, and then he takes that 60 to 90 minute recording and he chunks it down into 30 to 60 second tidbits that kills the dead air, and then drips it out to 4 different channels: my Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And so it's a video one day, and it might be, just think of this conversation today. It might be a 60-second clip where someone just gets the moment where they go, that's cool. I get it. So that drips out on a Monday. The next day, this person that I work with converts it into one sentence. So he puts out a quote that I said. I'm like, wow, did I really say that? That's amazing. That's a smart person right there. Because you have so much inside of you that you don't even realize. If you've done something for more than 10,000 hours, then you are an expert. And sometimes we as entrepreneurs and leaders have this thing called imposter syndrome. And it's hard to get over sometimes. You're like, am I really, fake it till you make it, you hear early in your career. And I did that for a lot of years. Well, I'm not faking it anymore. I actually know a thing or two about a thing or two, like I said earlier. So getting your personal brand, building a website, and then dripping those video interviews in 30 to 60 seconds has literally caused me to double my business. That one hack in the last 90 days, because you never know when somebody's going to watch that video. Right. And it builds trust so that when I come into a conversation, the trust level is already at a 9 out of 10, even a 10 out of 10, because they've already seen and got to know me. Then when I get there and we talk about the customer's business, it becomes so much easier. We sign a deal in 1 call instead of 10 calls or 5 calls. So building the personal brand, I think, is more important than it's ever been before. Once you've built your personal brand, then there's tools and technologies that let you drip and automate outreach to people that you actually want to meet with, right? People, we call it an ICP, or your ideal customer profile. So if you go to LinkedIn and you go to the advanced search criteria under LinkedIn Navigator, you can say, show me all the people in Denver, Colorado that are CEO title, 2 to 10 employees or 2 to 25 employees, whatever size of company you're after. I want to find people that are part of the Salesforce.com user group, for example. So you can get extremely specific and pointed to the right title, right people, right location. And then you can automate the outreach to those folks, where traditionally a lot of people, they may do 1 or 2 LinkedIn outreaches here or there. And I've heard people speak at conferences and say, yeah, you should do about 5 or 10 connections a week. No, you should do 50 to 100 a day. And you should automate it so that it doesn't feel impersonal. It needs to feel personal. So if I can say, hey, Steve, I see you're part of the Salesforce user group. You run a podcast. You're also on this the more things that I can say to a group of people, but point that message to you, they're like, wow, this guy really did his research. And I did. It's one-to-many outreach versus one-to-one, but it feels to the person on the other side as one-to-one. So that's how our
I'm going to interrupt. Yeah, I'm going to interrupt here a second because, man, well, first of all, I like LinkedIn, but I get so many 8-page things on initial contact. They're saying, hey, I saw your profile, and all of them say, I saw your profile. It looks like we have things in common, and I wanted to tell you what I do. And quite frankly, I don't care what they do, right? Because I don't know them. I don't have any interest in them. And, then they spew all over my page, and I'm like, go away, get off my page. So you're saying you drip on them a little bit, you tell them a little bit about what you really know, and you make us feel comfortable.
Yeah, and it's you can even use emojis. So I learned this from Nick again, right? He's using my technology. We've deployed this to over 150 clients now. And so then Nick gets in and says, oh, did you know you can do like the little hand clap thing? You can do, and by the way, you should have a typo. So he doesn't say I, capital I with an apostrophe and an M. He does lowercase I, no apostrophe M, I'm. And then he puts in 4 dots with a space between the last 2 dots. And it's an extremely short sentence that's relevant to you because he's done his research. And it says, hey, I'm looking forward to getting to know you. And it's nothing about Nick Cavuto and how I can help you grow your business. It's nothing to do with Nick and everything to do with the person on the other side. And then sure, maybe 3 or 4 days later, once that person is connected, he's getting about a 40% connection rate. The system waits 4 days. Hey, Steve, so glad you connected. We're doing this VIP event in Winter Park, Colorado. I don't know if that's relevant for you or not, and I'm looking at all my connections. You seem to me the perfect person that would love to join a group like this of 10 people. Do you have your, and then it's just an invite. Here's the link if you'd like to learn more about it. The more you can drip of positive information and less selling. So I gave an example, a little bit of selling, invite to a VIP event. The more you can do of a give, then get farther down the road, the better. But that's that's what you can do. If you're not using LinkedIn to its full capability, then I highly encourage you, look at LinkedIn Navigator. It's $79 a month. And then look at the tools like ScaleX Social that let you automate the outreach. So imagine sending 2,000 connection requests a month, getting 300 to 500 people to accept the connection request. So now by the end of the year, you could have 5,000 new connections on your LinkedIn that you never even knew about.
No,
and dozens of meetings.
Yeah, I'm interrupt. You say the LinkedIn Navigator. Now, is that different than LinkedIn?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has a basic feature that anyone can use, and it's free. LinkedIn Navigator is a sales account where you're allowed to go in, and now the filters that you do in the basic account are pretty lightweight these days.
Okay, so if I'm a paid, so I pay. Here I am disappearing my own screen. If I pay, I don't know, $49 a month, isn't that what they charge you? $49 a month.
Yeah, you're probably on premium, and there's one more level up called Navigator, and premium's pretty good. Navigator's the next level.
I did not know there was such a thing as another level up.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it gives you a more advanced search capability. So in premium, you probably can't, if I remember right, you probably can't say, show me people that are following Salesforce.com or they're in certain types of groups. I don't think you have the group filter. In Navigator, you can drill down.
And that's interesting because people say, hey, you got to get the paid version. You got to do this, you got to do that. And I have the paid version and I don't have any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So you're saying that there's a LinkedIn Navigator. Now, is that something that do I go to LinkedInNavigator.com? Do I go
just Google LinkedIn Navigator? You'll see a link there. You go in and, you can buy it for a year and you can buy down the rate, or you can pay monthly and it's probably $20 more. So maybe it's $79.99 or something. I've always been the monthly payer, but
the monthly payer.
Yeah. It's like my kids when they fill up their gas tank and they put in $5 instead of filling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause that way dad has to pay for it to fill it up. Yeah.
You got that right.
Okay. So from all of the listeners out there, if you're not paid onto LinkedIn, you can't take advantage of this stuff, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so first thing you have to do is become a paid member. Now, is it worth it to become a paid member? So obviously it must be if you say using LinkedIn Navigator is so good, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Let's do the math for a minute. If you were to look at how much money you make on an annual basis, so for a entry-level starving entrepreneur, maybe it's $50,000 to $75,000. For an entrepreneur who's been at it for a couple of years, maybe you're making $150,000 to $350,000. Who knows? Somewhere in there.
I think you're being extremely generous for most of us out there.
Yeah. Well, take the X divided by the Y. X is how much you make per year, and then divide by Y. Y being how many meetings a year do I get, right? Based on calls or going to conferences or whatever. And you say, okay, here's what I make. Here's how many meetings I get. Well, that's how much a meeting is worth to you. So let's say you get 5 a month. And so that's 60 a year and you're making $60,000 just for keep it round. Yeah. That's $1,000 a meeting. So if you can buy Navigator for $79 a month, you can buy a tool that automates the Navigator outreach. Because if you don't buy a tool that sits on top of Navigator, then you're copying and pasting and doing weekend work for hours and hours and hours at a time. So you're back to like making McDonald's money as an entrepreneur. And that's
well, and I think that's what most of us have been frustrated with. We'll buy the tool and then it doesn't produce like everybody says, hey, that works fabulous. And that's why we have you on the show, because we know that you have something that will help us.
Yes.
Oh, I pay $80 a month for Navigator, let's say starting next month. And then I contact you to get what?
So then you get the we call it ScaleX Social. It's social sales platform, and it will plug into Navigator. It'll integrate. And then our team will help you in a 1-hour meeting, build your first campaign and as many as you want. So you want to go after CEOs in Denver that are part of this group, for example, and it could be as wide or narrow as you want. Help you build the messaging. What's the connection request look like? What's the in-mail look like? What's the follow-on messages?
But isn't that now? You guys help us design that message, because isn't that what most people struggle with? They go, like a funnel. I remember a few years back, it was like, okay, you build your funnel, and then so you put this in, and they were like, you put in your first message, put in your second. I went, well, what's my first message?
Exactly.
Right. What's my second message?
The message matters, and the configuration of clicking the go button, because sometimes people think they know how to do it. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to put 50 leads in there. I'm going to get 50 people in the Navigator searching. I'm going to be good. One of my reps did that in Tokyo. He's like, okay, I picked 50. They're amazing. And I go, Jay, this system that we have does 50 to 100 a day. If you do 50, he goes, yeah, I'll just do like 3 or 4 a day. I was like, Jay, you want, how many meetings a month do you want? He's like, well, I should be doing like 1 or 2 a day. I'm like, okay, if you do 30 or 50, you're going to get a half a meeting. So you might not meet with anyone. And I go, if you do 50 to 100 a day, you're going to meet with at least one person a day. So why, if you know the universe is big enough with the many people that could have a need for your speaking engagement, your mindset class, whatever it is you're selling as an entrepreneur, if the market's big enough, then why not build the Navigator search? We'll help you build the message, and then they click the go button and connect you with your best prospects. That's why Arjun called me today, because he said, oh, I had no idea this prospect even existed, and you got me a meeting with them. And so remember, we talked about cost per meeting, $1,000. So if it's $500 a month is what ScaleX Social costs. If you pay $79 a month for Navigator, so now you're in for $579. Well, what's the value of having 200 to 300 new connections per month of people that you've never been connected to? Even if you just got one meeting a month, and most people get between 3 and 10. So let's just say you got 2 meetings a month for $579. That's $250 a meeting. That's 1/4 the cost you're spending today. And so getting people to think in perspective. And for me, it's like, awesome. I've got 5 licenses for my sales team, right? I spend the money on it. I have no issue with that because it drives results and business and pipeline. And that's how you double your business. Focus on your personal brand and then add a tool like this. Those are a couple of the top, top strategies that I think I've seen work for me. My business grew from $337,000 in the first quarter we went live, December of 2017. The next year it went to $1.2 million. And this year we're tracking to do about $1.8 to $2 million.
That's great. Congratulations on that.
Yeah. So, and yet I still don't make $250,000 a year.
We need to work with you on that. Yeah, somewhere in there. But that's true. I've worked with, as a business coach, I've worked with a lot of companies, organizations over the years where the business is making, like you say, $2.5 million and the owner's only making like $120,000. And usually all it takes is 6-7 tweaks to change their income dramatically because there's just something that they're not connected to. And so we've done that before. But,
100%.
and I'm sure you've got a whole bunch of people who are helping you with that kind of stuff. But it's really important that we understand as entrepreneurs, as newer speakers, as newer authors, as newer business coaches, that the things that happen with us really change our lives. So you can choose to stay where you're at. He was optimistic, I think, Chad was optimistic in saying that if you've been around for 5 or 6 years, you're probably making $120,000, $150,000. I think most of the entrepreneurs that I run across look at me and say, Steve, I can't afford $1,000 a month, to do X, Y, Z. And I go, how can that be? Right? How can you not have that extra $1,000 a month? And they're like, well, I just don't have it. And supposedly they're successful business coaches looking for more, or they're successful life coaches looking for more, and so you have to work on that. And you say, so many of us, so many entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, because they said, and I'll make up the quotes right now, but it's real close. Something like 60% of all speakers make less than $40,000 a year. People who call themselves speakers make less than $40,000 a year. And, that's like authors who call themselves best-selling authors sell less than 100 books per year. And learning how to sell your books by being a great speaker is one of the things that really can work for you. And learning how to make a great deal of money as a speaker changes your life. And so most speakers are sitting there really struggling financially, especially in these times when their whole income disappeared. So they're out working at Walmart maybe just to make ends meet. So, but I want you to think $500, because some people go $500, but $500, and you go, so how much is one client worth? If you're like me, if you're a speaking coach, right? I charge $6,500 for my speaking coaching. So if I got one client a month, that's $6,500.
Yeah.
Right. And I spent $580 to get the program that will help me get that additional person. So I increased my income by $6,500. And so take the $500 off. I just made $6,000 by investing $500.
Yeah.
Think about it in terms of how much are you really worth? That's like when speakers come to me and they say, I'm fairly new, Steve. I've been speaking for free. How much do I charge? I go, how much are you worth? And they go, well, what do you mean? I go, what does your message bring? Right? If my message is being a speaking coach, and if I'm Chad, I say, and I tell people how to double their income, Well, if you're making $40,000 and I teach you how to double your income, you're making $80,000. Therefore, my teaching is worth $40,000.
That's right.
And therefore, if I'm only charging, oh, hey, I think I might charge you $800 for this. You go,
Yeah, you're undercharging, right?
Oh, way undercharging, and people won't think you're worth it. So you have to charge what value you bring into all of this. And it's really important that you see the value that you bring. So what Chad brings is huge value. You can see the opportunity. You can see what if you can add, if you could sit down, what's your closing ratio, I guess you go back to. If you had 4 new appointments this month and you close 25% of your sit downs, that's you get 1 client a month. If your closing ratio is 50%, and if you're doing the drip like Chad's talking about, where you actually learn about me, talk about me, get to know me, right? Don't just spam me, throw out this huge thing that says, hey,
and
Steve.
Pick the right group of people that you're going after, right? Maybe it's not the person, if you're the $40,000 a year entrepreneur, then maybe that's not your right target market. If yours is a $6,500 product, you don't want to go after someone who's making $40,000 a year. What can you do? You can go after companies that are funded startups have to spend their money to grow, and they're looking for speakers. So pick your audience, then work on your messaging, and then use the channels. I want to leave your audience with one more idea, because this actually, when I had a rough month in 2019 in March, I went from $150,000 a month down to 30. And I had employees, a COO, a ops person. So cost. And I don't want to go into my IRA to raid that thing. It's not a fun situation, but I did, to keep the lights on for the business. And what I also did is I wrote a book, and I've written 4 now. This was my 4th. But here's the hack. And I would encourage anybody on this show to think about this. I went to companies that the book's called AI for Sales, How Artificial Intelligence is Changing Sales. And so I went to Discover.org, which became ZoomInfo. I went to Chorus, which does conversation automation and recording and intelligence. I went to about 20 different companies, and I said, hey, would you be willing to be a sponsor? I'll put your name on the cover. I'll feature a case study in one of the chapters. In fact, if you want to write the chapter, I'll let you write the chapter. And I had one company invest $15,000. And then I gave them 1,000 books. So 2 pallets of books. The cost on that is about $1.50 a book on Amazon. They paid me 10, which was, to them, thinking of value, 50% off of retail, which is $19.99. So they got their name on the cover. They got to help me write the book, which saved me some time. They got the logo. They wrote the chapter. And then the best part was 8 months later, after I'd written the book, I finished it while I was on a cruise ship in Italy. And then we went to it was awesome. But I would wake up at 4, work till 8. The kids get up and we go do our thing. But the best part was that once we shipped 1,000 to this one company, another 500 to the next, another 100, it was the best advertising marketing piece you could ever imagine. So we ended up making $35,000. The cost was probably $5,000, but we got it all up front. And so it was the best cash flow hack that I've ever come up with, because now I didn't have to raid as much of the IRA as I thought I'd have to. And then I was able to put the $5,000 into the production of the book 8 months later. And so if you're struggling in these crazy times, look at yourself in the mirror. Know that if you've got 10,000 hours in any skill, then you are considered an expert. Get yourself out of the mindset that you're an imposter, because you're not. You're just telling yourself that you're an imposter, probably because you have a little work to do with your upbringing and all that kind of fun stuff.
That's right. That happens to a lot of people because they don't have their pitch down right, or they don't sound like the professional that they want to sound like, or they don't have the book that everybody tells them they have to have in order to be a professional, or they don't have their speaking career, so to speak, but they're speaking signature talk down so that they can actually promote things. All those things contribute to what we're talking about here. So each one individually, right, you need to get taken care of along the way. Get it taken care of. So I would highly recommend, Chad, how do they reach out to you? How do they talk to you?
Yeah, they can email me directly, chad@scalex.ai. You don't have to, I'm pointing the wrong here, right? You don't have to put the X in the bigger X. It's just scalex, normal X.ai. Chad@scalex.ai. Check out the website. We just did a revamp a few months ago, and I'm so happy of what
which is scalex.ai, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So reach out to him. And so ask him the questions that you're dying to ask. The first question might be, what do you mean by funded startups, right? Because I know there's a whole bunch of people out there that go, what's a funded startup, right? So start by asking him that question. Say, how do I find funded startups who have to spend their money? I want to find people who want to spend their money, right? Most people are like, no, I want to hang on to my money. I want to hang on.
And I love giving back. You know, there's a PR company that reached out to me very beginning of COVID called Bella Canvas is the production company. They produce shirts normally and apparel. Well, they converted their production line over to masks. And they said, hey, can you help? And within an hour, we decided to pull a list of 1,200 top procurement officers across the country in Fortune 2000. We recorded a voicemail that was a 42-second voicemail. We dropped the voicemail to 1,200 people within 2 days. And she was getting callback upon callback. Yeah, I need some masks. She told me later she sold $10 million in masks.
Holy cow.
And makes roughly 8 to 10% commission on the $10 million.
Oh, that's nice.
So think of that.
That's really cool.
The other thing is there's a company I met today, in fact, and did a webinar. Man, I'm going to blank on the name of it. InRepco, INREPCO. What they do is match up manufacturers, hundreds, thousands of them, with salespeople, and it's like a match made in heaven. And then you go, oh wow, just like the mask company. Who would have known you could sell masks in a crazy time like this? Well, what other technologies and manufacturing things are out there where maybe your passion is to teach and to be a speaker, but you're also a good salesperson? Well, put your name and information in this website and see what manufacturers are out there, because they are in massive need. Taiwanese companies, US companies, all over, Japanese companies, they don't know how to sell in the US, but they want to. They need you. Your skill set is extremely important. And if that lady could make $1 million on 10 million in sales, what else is available out there?
That's right. That's right. And that's what these podcasts are all about. Not just mine, but all the podcasts you get an opportunity to listen to. Some of them are just talks, right? They give conversation. Some of us give value. And that's what Chad is giving you today. Oh my God. So again, Chad, please tell us how to contact you.
Yeah, Chad@scalex.ai. And hey, I'm going to leave you with one more thing. There's a competitor to us that's about $50 a month. So I'm not going to lie. Ours is better. It does InMail. It does a whole bunch of great stuff. But if you say, hey, I'd like to get started for $35 to $50, well, there's a company called Duck's Soup. There's also one called LinkedIn Helper. And Duck's Soup? Duck's Soup, DUXSOUP. Craziest name on the history of the planet.
Yeah, because how would you know what they do? That's one of my things is, you go, why would I call Duck Soup to find out how to, right?
Yeah, but they'll do 60% of what we do. So if you want to dip your toe in the water, look, my gig is I want to help other people help their businesses grow. And if it involves me, awesome. If not, that's okay too.
That's cool. Well, just so you know, Chad, this is probably going to be popping out in about a month. And so let you know so you're not expecting it next week. But we're running just about 3 or 4 weeks behind. So I really thank you for being on the show today. This has been absolutely amazing. The information, the technology input, and certainly talking to the guys who want to change their lives. So I want all of you out there who are listening to go ahead and write to him, ask him, right? Pick his brain.
Yeah, I'll talk, man. I'm not going to sell you. I'll have a conversation. And if we can partner together, awesome. If not, I'll send you one of my books free of charge on me.
Cool.
That's 2 weeks free trial on the platform if you're interested.
Well, how do you beat that, right? Everybody needs to reach out. If you're not reaching out, you're making a huge mistake. Thanks a lot, Chad. I sure appreciate you. And letting you guys all know you've been listening to Speaker Talk Speaking Podcast for authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs, as well as great leaders and people who want to change their business. Please reach out to me, steve@stevesapato.com. And until next week, I hope you have a very blessed day. Thanks a lot, Chad. Sure appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Bye.